It's okay, we don't. Outside, I don't hear it. You see what I mean? It's going. We are live. We are live. Okay, we are live. I'll put this up. And finally, we can again start the video. Hopefully, this will be stable. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Let's see if there is anyone around. I don't think so, but I will start to talk to you, Viivi. Thank you so much for being here. Look out right to me and let me ask you. We met on Instagram, right? And what I was attracted to in Instagram was the fact that you had a way of doing the readings that was really, really interesting. And this is the main thing. This is the main thing. And then I saw that you didn't have a YouTube channel, which was surprising. Or you did have a YouTube channel, but it was very few subscribers. And I was so surprised because I thought, well, isn't that odd? She has so many subscribers on Instagram. What made you choose to start with the Instagram instead of the YouTube? Or did that just naturally come up?
No, I mean, actually, the first thing I wanted to do was to create a YouTube channel, but because I'm really awkward on camera, I have...
That's funny. That's funny, but you're not. You're not awkward on camera.
Yeah, once I get going, it gets more comfortable. But I have like social anxiety and all that, so I thought that Instagram it has that kind of it's more distant.
Okay.
So I'm not like
right. There's not a direct contact with everyone.
So it was easier, like easy sliding into it, and then. Yeah. YouTube came a little
Well,
after.
I'm glad that I talked you into this, opening up directly. Because, and what is your Instagram contact? It's at wild, tell me the name, the entire name. I've tried to put the overlay so people can see your name, but I lost that, but I'll put it up while you're talking. What is the contact name?
It's at Wild Forest Tarot.
At Wild Forest Tarot. Okay. So while we're waiting for someone to come into the room, I'm going to try to see if I can put my things. What a day. This was a real difficult day trying to get, all of us on here, getting on and making the internet contact work. I couldn't figure it out. So tell me, when did you actually start reading the tarot? Your first tarot deck?
I mean, I've had my first tarot deck for years, like, I don't know, 20 years-ish.
Oh.
But I never used it.
Uh-huh.
I started very rarely reading a couple of years ago, and only like last year I started really learning about it and bought more decks and stuff.
Uh-huh. And when you started reading, you said you started reading with for other people. Were they with you, or were they people that, just like us, we're interacting now?
I mean, I don't read to a lot of other people. I do some like card pulls on Instagram sometimes.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
An example
of card pulls. A recent card pull that you did.
Well, I would have like on my Instagram stories, like send me an emoji and I will pull you a card and stuff like that. So it's really like very small thing. It's not really a reading.
Mm-hmm. So, but you read for me, and I was very surprised. You did such an elaborate reading for me.
Yeah.
And so there's, it feels like you're still about to come out of that egg. You're starting to hatch. You're going to hatch out of the egg pretty soon. What I wanted to ask you is the type of tarot decks that you have, because I saw a few and I saw on Instagram. What is your favorite deck?
I was thinking about that the other day, and it's really difficult for me to pick a favorite because I have so many. But right now, I'm really drawn to the latest one that I bought, which is the Tarot Z. It's a zombie deck.
What is it called? What is it called?
Tarot Z.
With Lee?
No, Z, like Z.
Oh, Tarot Z. Tarot Z. And what does it look like?
Well, I don't have it here right now, but it has. You want to get it?
Yeah. Get your assistant to show us.
It's in the stairs. Yeah, so it's like it's a zombie deck, so it has zombie imagery. It has zombies and like survivalists and that kind of situation.
But what are the colors like? Is it a dark deck, or is it typical of the zombie? The theme would be dark.
Yeah, it's darker, but then it also has like the sun card is like bright yellow, for example. There's another one that's really bright yellow, so it has like bright colors also. It's not like black deck.
Hey Lynn, we have Lynn with us. Hello. Viivi is from Finland. You were born in Finland, right?
Yeah.
And she's currently living in Portugal with her family. And so you've been in Portugal for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Zanzu. How do you know? Okay, here you go. I have a question for you. I'll put it up in the front of in our. There it is.
I have the deck here now.
Okay, show us.
Some cards. Ooh, okay.
I'll put your question up afterwards. Show us the deck, the Z deck.
So here's some cards. I don't know how well it shows.
Put it over to your left, to your right. Okay, good.
Here?
Yeah, they're dark. It's a fairly dark. And yeah, they're dark colors.
Really, really beautiful.
They are beautiful artwork.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Zanzu asks you, if I could get her question up, how do you know how to pick a deck for you specifically?
I mean, that's really. I mean, that's a very like important question. Like I think about that a lot with like, because I'm a new reader and I deal on Instagram. I talk to a lot of other new readers, so it's something we talk about.
Oh, so there's a community of new readers on Instagram?
Yeah, the tarot community on Instagram is amazing. For new tarot readers, really recommend going to Instagram and interacting with others.
Did you hear that, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And so this deck came up in talks with them. Is that right?
No, we talk about this question. Like a lot of people say that you need to buy like the Rider-Waite deck, which is like the basic.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. I mean, it's one of the. I think it was before this one. I bought that one, and I have like 10 decks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's like whatever deck calls to you. If you see a deck on a YouTube video or in the store and go like, that is beautiful, I wish I had that, buy that. If it's your first deck, it's calling for you, so you should buy it.
And Nelson Don Nascimento is telling us, hi, Christelle, Viivi's sound seems to have a little issue. While we can hear it, it seems like there's an echo. You were mentioning the echo. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. There's nothing we can do about that, but just as long as I'll try to repeat what she says, but it's, I don't know why. I mean, we're very lucky to be on for some reason. Lynn says to us, she's been looking, I've been using tarot since I was a teenager. I'm asking, I was just going to ask Viivi that when you say that you don't read for others, I think you're lying. Because you did say, and you read for me, but you do read for people. You do open a spread in Instagram. It's on a daily basis. Is that right?
I'm sorry. What do you mean?
Did you hear me? Were you able to hear?
Yeah, I heard. I just didn't understand the
Okay,
question.
I was wondering if you read opening a spread with different cards on the table. Because you mentioned just one card at a time, you'll pull a card. But I remember you reading for me, and there were several cards on the table.
Yeah, I had 3 cards fall out of the deck. I mean, when I read, I don't usually use a spread. I just like take what cards come out.
Okay, so let's say that I come to you and I say, look, Viivi, can you look at the cards for me? I see that we have a time lag in the voice, even in my own voice. I can hear it, but it's not synced to my actions. But like I said, we're lucky to be here. Viivi, if I say to you, look, I put in for a grant, a research grant, okay? And I've been waiting. It's been a month now, and I know in 2 months they will let me know. Can you take a look at the cards to see how that response could look? Then what would you do?
I would probably shuffle for a while and
Right.
see what cards come out.
Okay, so you just wait till they fall out.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I don't pull from the top.
Yeah, this is another guest that I had here, Karen. I think it's from Intuitive Tarot. I can't remember exactly. She does the same thing. She mixes and mixes and mixes, and then she waits till they fall out, and then she puts them out. And I do that as well. If something falls, it has to be seen. But I like to place the cards. What about how would you like to develop? You're just starting out, and what would you be satisfied with in developing? What would be success to you?
I don't know. One thing that I love in tarot is like there's always something more to learn. So it's like there's no finish. I just want to learn more.
Okay, yeah, well, we're all learning, really. We're really all learning. Have you ever done a reading that was really interesting, that surprised even yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, come on, tell us about it. Tell us about it.
It happens a lot. Sometimes I'm just pick a deck. A deck calls to me and I pick it up and I shuffle and then something comes out and I'm like, oh, okay. Like sometimes the deck is like calling you out.
Right. That happens a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
What is happening here? I didn't ask to know this, or
even without asking a question, you would just open the cards.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I connect with my spirit guides and things like that. So if I feel called to use a deck without any actual purpose, it's like my spirit guides are like sending me a message through the cards.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever comes out is like the message.
Okay. Has that ever happened with another person when you read for them and you were surprised by the response?
I don't know. I mean, I do the monthly readings, and sometimes I kind of stop and stare at the cards like, am I reading this right? Is this like either like very specific to a person that I know, or then it's just like sometimes the message that I'm getting is like not connected to the cards, but things like that.
Okay. Zanzu has another question, and she asks, how did you know you could or you wanted to do this? What was it that you felt when you thought of, okay, let me start reading the tarot?
Like I said, like I had my first tarot deck for a long time and I didn't use it, or used it very rarely. But then last year I randomly came across a tarot video on YouTube, and then I started watching them, and I watched a whole lot of them, and I thought, like, I want to do that too. I have a deck, why am I not using it? That seems really cool.
Yeah.
So then I just started learning it.
Mm-hmm. I've got another question here from Tanya. Tanya says, what advice do you have when sharing a message that the questioner may not want to hear? How can you respond? Or how do you approach that?
Well, something that I always say if I do a reading for someone else is that, it's not a definite thing. Just because the cards say this, supposedly, it's not written in stone.
Right.
So if you see like an outcome to a situation that you know that they don't want to happen, it's like, well, this is a possible outcome, but you can still affect it if you do something different.
Yeah, this is a difficult. I'm going to ask one of our. Let's see, just a moment. First, I want to ask Lynn. Lynn, because Lynn said she has been using this tarot since she was a teenager. So, Lynn, let me ask you what Tanya has asked. What do you do when you have to share a message that the questioner may not want to hear? Well, first, Lynn says something else. She says, I was shocked when I read for two very different people and my reading actually helped them. Okay, I guess you're very surprised. But Lynn, what do you do when the message is probably not the same kind of message that people want to hear? If there are readers in the chat, come up and tell me. I'll tell you what I do. Let's say that people ask me about their health, okay? And of course I couch it and tell them, I'm not a doctor, but the cards look very bleak. They have an illness and they're interested in knowing the development. So what I'll do, usually I'll start slow. I'll put out 3 cards. And if they look very bleak, I'll clarify the dark cards, the difficult cards, with other tarot decks or a Sibylla deck, an oracle deck, and try to see some opening or a reason for that dark message or that response. And so you have, you get 2 sides to the response, which usually helps. But like I said, you can't, I always say you can't invent the answers usually, and they're in the cards, and it's always there are people, and I find this, and you will see this as well, Viivi, that no matter how many times you tell them something, they will come back and ask you the same things. And they really don't want that answer. And oftentimes they go to very many different readers until they hear what they want,
I think I do that to myself. I do a reading and I don't like the answer. I do it again tomorrow and the next day and with another deck, and it's still the same answer.
Yeah, Lynn says, as a response, Lynn tells us that she has to be very careful how she phrases things. Yeah, that's the truth. Isn't that the truth? Lynn, have you ever been surprised about the answer that you didn't expect, apart from 2 different people? But what is the most surprising reading that you had? I'll put that out to you as well. And what about you, Viivi? What was the most surprising answer that the cards came to you with, the tarot deck? What did it, what surprised you in the reading most? Give me an example.
Well, one of the most interesting readings I've ever done might get a little complicated.
That's okay.
I had a deck, when I only had like 2 or 3 decks, I felt like they had different energies, right?
Right.
Decks have different energies.
Right.
So I had one deck that had a very distinct energy, and I bought another deck that's very similar, but it was like darker version. It's the same maker, same format, exactly like same quality. And I felt like the other deck was like jealous, like, why are you using that deck so much? You should be playing with me. And like I felt the energy kind of like jump into the other deck. And then that energy kind of became my spirit guide. And like I used both of them in the same reading, like right at that moment. The reading was so weird because like I got the card that represented the deck, the other deck. Like it was just, I was standing there. I remember standing there just like, what is happening?
Yeah. There's an answer I could probably give you for that. When there are certain, like you say, the decks act as if they were jealous, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a deck initially a long time ago when I started using it. It's called the Lenormand deck. And people say it was created in France or in Germany. It's not very clear. That deck I found was very snobbish. It didn't like to intermingle with the others. And I had very difficult time getting answers from it until I started using it with particular tarot. It didn't like all the tarot, and it definitely doesn't like the Italian oracle Vera Sibilla. They do not mix. They don't like each other. So you really have to be careful to give them the attention they need, or else they will stop working for you. Yeah.
In this case, it worked perfectly because that energy was my spirit guide. So
yeah, when you talk about spirit guide, can you elaborate on that? When you say when I talk to my guides, or when you get messages from your guides, can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I know not everybody goes with the whole spirit guide things. I mean, you can call them anything you want,
right,
from ancestors to angels to universe to past on loved ones, anything. It's just like an energetic being that occasionally helps me with the readings. Or
well, how do they impulse you? How do they get your attention?
It's things like that, like if I'm not thinking of tarot at all and suddenly I find myself like really drawn to one deck, so it's like there's a message coming that I need to get out right now. Also, one thing is repeated numbers. I know a lot of people are always like, especially on Instagram, you see them pictures
over
like
and over
111 or 777. Those can be indicators that there's like a spirit guide,
some message coming in. Yeah. Lynn has something else she wanted to say. Let me read it. When I put it on the screen, let me see it. Hang on. There it is. One person, she said, this is one of the readings that she had that was interesting. One was a person with a drinking problem, and from what I interpreted from the tarot reading I did was for her to change her environment and certain people who were toxic. Well, this is really interesting because not very many people finally realize that if you change your scenery and you change something in your life, you end up changing a lot of things. You change your place of residence, and Viivi, you know that could change your life. Yeah. There's always something that you need to change, and it usually helps you move on. Let's see. So you say that in your YouTube channel you post every month?
Yeah, I do monthly readings for all the signs.
So you do one reading for all the signs, or one reading per sign?
I do 12 readings. So one for each sign.
And how do you do them? Do you have just the tarot? Do you use something else?
I have this month I'm actually using 8 deck.
Yeah.
So it got kind of complex.
Mm-hmm.
There's tarot and some oracle decks.
Oracle decks. I saw that you have a lot of oracle decks. Yeah. And how do you do it? Do you usually look at the time and see how long it should be, or some of the videos are longer because they take your attention more? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, this month I have like general message and then love message and hazard message and then like general guidance or help or whatever. So I just do the thing as it goes, and some videos are 10 minutes longer than other videos. It's just
when you say the hazards, what did you mean by that? The hazards?
Oh, it's there's a section in each reading that's like external or internal hazards that might be affecting your like someone or something that might be causing issues in your month.
Okay. I have another question from Zansu here, and she asks, as you're an intuitive reader, do you feel tired or excited after a reading? How does it affect you?
I get energy from my readings.
A positive energy?
Yeah, I notice like sometimes I'm really reluctant to start and I'm sitting there really nervous and whatever, but then I do one or two and I'm like, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I could do more, but
Yeah. I have another question. I asked you, what would you consider a positive development for you in the future, but you answered me and I'm not satisfied. So I'm going to ask you, are you thinking of incorporating other types of services that you offer? Some kind of something different? I don't know, reading crystals or doing some kind of energy work, or I don't know. Have you thought about it?
well, not really. I'm really focusing on just doing the tarot readings for now. I have a normal day job, so I don't have a limited amount of time to use for this, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you have your friends or family, people who know that you have the tarot and you read the tarot? Have you ever had any setbacks from that? Have you ever had people tell you that they didn't believe in the tarot, things like that? Naysayers, people who would work against you.
I know some people say that they don't believe it, and I mean, okay, I don't believe everything that other people believe.
Yeah.
But no one has like stopped talking to me or anything that negative.
Okay.
I also don't like to talk about it too much.
Yeah, because it brings negative energy. Yeah. I don't want to keep you. We had a late start, unfortunately. If there are any other questions, I'll wait a few minutes. I wanted to ask you another question. So you said you have about 8 or 10 different tarot decks, and you said for the monthly readings just now, you used 8 different decks together.
Yeah.
Were all the readings for all the signs using the same decks, or did you vary them?
I every month I do a selection of decks, and then I use those decks for each
for
reading.
all the signs. Yeah, okay, for all the signs. And let's see. Lynn asks, Viivi, what drew you to the tarot?
Well, the first time I came in contact with the tarot is my brother just gave me a deck. He out of nowhere walked into my room with this, it's the Crowley deck.
Crowley. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gave it to me like, do you want this? And I'm like, what is it? Oh, it's a deck.
Where did he get it?
I have no idea. I never asked. To this day, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little afraid to think about it. And then I fell in love with the pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zansu, this is a closing. She says, I wish you love and light. Thank you for this. Thank you all for being here. And Vivi, so sorry that we got, started late. And but I'll have you here again another time when I get my internet connection settled and get all the ducks in a row. I'll invite you back, and then you'll give us a success story. Okay, so bye-bye, Vivi. Bye-bye, everybody. Namaste. And until we read together again, as I always say, bye-bye.
Bye.